Ready? Play.
Hello guys, welcome to the next Last Ball Drop show. It's the same lineup as yesterday, but actually a pretty non-exciting day, like compared to day 5, right? It was always going to be a hard act to follow up, but I won't say that there weren't any good matches. It's just that compared to yesterday, it's felt a lot slower.
Yeah, for sure. There were for sure some good things happening. That's for sure. But especially the amount of close matches and all the drama that we had yesterday has not been the same today. That's for sure. Especially the first matches, and especially on the men's side, for example. I don't know. Some things could have been, for example, I think that for Fritz maybe could have been a bit trickier than how it has been in the end, even if he lost the first set. Then for sure the top seeds who played today, just really Sabalenka, Sinner. Maybe Djokovic match has been the one with, even if still a straight sets. At least we've seen one set which has been close. Gauff also. So yeah, there hasn't really been some upset alert. Let's say like this. So for sure yesterday it's been very very more exciting than today. But still we have seen some good things. That's for sure.
Yeah, and of course, some of that was also the fact that we are into the third round now, so there was less matches in general. But where do we start? I guess we usually start with what just finished. So on the women's, we had 8 matches, of course, in the third round today. Just seen a great comeback from Barbora Krejcikova, who will actually face another player who made a great comeback today, right? In Mirra Andreeva in the fourth round. So yeah, anything, Mario, on these two fight backs that Krejcikova and Andreeva are able to pull off? What are you expecting from their matchup as well? They played very recently, actually, right? Beijing, and Andreeva won it pretty comfortably.
Yeah, and Andreeva has already won twice against Krejcikova, actually.
Oh, twice as well. I forgot about the first one. Where was the first one?
I mean, I'm pretty sure it was, I think, on clay. Let me, I will check while talking. No, but overall, I mean, Krejcikova, she played a good second round.
Wimbledon, but that was via retirement. Wimbledon. So I guess it's okay. Yeah, never mind. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, I mean, Krejcikova is looking. Yes, Hunter played really well. Is doing super well lately, especially in doubles, but also in singles, she can do really well. So I mean, was also not an easy match, as it may seem. But overall, I'm still expecting Andreeva to win that match. Honestly, she was risking today a lot. But I also mean, Paris. I can get why for a 16-year-old player it can be quite difficult to play someone like Paris. Her tennis is different from the usual things we see, especially on the women's side. I also get that for Andreeva, 16-year-old, after playing and getting that win and with that performance against Jabeur. Maybe it's also a little bit difficult at the beginning to be back on the court 3 to play someone who's not a very established top player like maybe what Jabeur is. But in the end, the match that's been signed, but that incredible comeback that she had, that really means a lot considering her age, the stage she is in her career. I think that it's a great display of a great mentality, and for sure the match has showed us both the Andreevas, the one who has still something to improve, to work on, and fortunately so, because she's only 16, and also it has also shown us the Andreeva, which is an incredible fighter, which is very difficult to beat, even if you are 5-1 up and 15 love against her. She is still not out of the competition, and it's still great.
Yeah, Hunter and Krejcikova, as you said, like a match between two of the best doubles players in the world. I guess that somehow takes a bit of assets away from Krejcikova as well, because Hunter is pretty good as well, and all the other sort of areas of the court that sometimes Krejcikova overwhelms the opposition based on her variety and like how comfortable she is in the forecourt. Against Hunter, that's not really a big thing. Definitely the best run that Storm has ever had in singles, and probably just also coming from the fact that she used to play like a bit of a lefty pusher in back in the day in singles, not in doubles. Right now, she probably just takes a little more initiative, and she's able to actually produce a very good level here and almost beat Krejcikova. Almost was even closer, of course, for Diane Parry. Yeah, I think she did a very good job, honestly, until like the third set of mixing it up. Obviously, she has that insane slice. She has the one-hander. Even that combination is already like you never know what's going to hit you, but also the net aggression. But yeah, probably just lost a bit of that conviction, lost a bit of that clarity of thought by the end of the third set, where she simply started doubting the plan, which is fine. Obviously, then she loses 5 games in a row. There's some spectacular shot making from Andreeva as well. Andreeva actually has to serve for it then and doesn't manage to do it. So a bit of a crazy finish, but yeah, this win sometimes can be harder than something like against Jobert. And sometimes you just come out and everything is clicking for you. The opponent is awful, and you win in an hour. And then you actually play someone theoretically much weaker than, well, both yourself and the previous opponent, and then it actually becomes a struggle. But yeah, a lot of that was due to what Diane was doing on the court, and certainly a good performance from her as well. Andreeva, Krejcikova, as we said, 2 matches so far. One of them a retirement, 6-2, 6-2 in Beijing. Gotta like Andreeva's chances, honestly, to push for Krejcikova. I think she's playing the better stuff here for sure. And probably the bigger test for her would be obviously Sabalenka in the quarterfinals rather than Krejcikova. Let's speak about that. And Rina Sabalenka double bageling Lesia Tsurenko right now. Today. I guess we were expecting that, but probably not a double bagel though. Like probably a couple of games for Tsurenko.
Yeah, maybe I was thinking she would have won a couple of games. Yeah, but overall, Sabalenka's draw has been quite kind in the first week, and she's been very good to just not have any kind of issue and just get some routine straight sets wins. So she just did what she could have done with the draw she had. Maybe it would be if we. She doesn't have an easy 4th round because Anisimova is playing very, very well. Honestly, right now, my feeling is still that it's a bit difficult for me to not think, even if potentially Anisimova and Andreeva can be two tough opponents. I'm still thinking that we should have had that semi-final between Gauff and Sabalenka, maybe. Anisimova is a tough opponent for Sabalenka. That's sure. Anisimova is up 4-1 in the head-to-head. So it will be a good test for Sabalenka because we are talking a lot about, and it doesn't matter really about what match. That's still for sure that Sabalenka has improved a lot since last year. We are watching kind of a new Sabalenka, especially in the first rounds on the tournament. She's really not losing, anymore the kind of matches that just she has to win. So it will be also, in my opinion, a good test to to prove that in a matchup she wasn't comfortable in in the previous years until 2022, and they faced, and Sabalenka just won once out of 5 matches between the two. So if I have to just have my my idea, also considering how Sabalenka is playing right now, despite the opposition hasn't been the toughest possible, I still think for me that Sabalenka should be able to to do well even in the next rounds. But of course, for sure, the competition now is getting tougher for her. So far, just I think that she did simply what she should have done, and she did it well. So
yeah, no real fuss about her first three victories. Of course, Tsurenko today 6-love, 6-love. And Mario mentioned that head-to-head, but Anisimova against Sabalenka, she's leading 4-1. 2019, she beat her at the Australian Open, then at Roland Garros. In 2022, she beats her at Charleston, Madrid, and then loses to her in Rome. So this was a pretty troublesome matchup for Sabalenka. Does that still hold up after, Sabalenka has become a full-on top player? Anisimova sort of going away for a while and obviously just coming back. That's very hard to say. I mean, definitely when Anisimova is like on and she's really on, she is top 10, top 5 talent, and the return game is so strong. She can kind of take away the first strike from Sabalenka as well, which most players can't. So it's definitely an exciting matchup. It's definitely more of a unexpected test in the draw. I was probably thinking that Pavlyuchenkova would make it there, who also has a good matchup against Sabalenka, but just 2-1. And also,
but in my opinion, it's different. In my opinion, Anisimova can be a really tough matchup for Sabalenka because even Sabalenka's powerful hitting game, also from the baseline, Anisimova is still able to take the ball early and to try to have to find good angles with their shots, despite your opponent hitting strong. So I feel that that's why it also has been quite a bad matchup overall for them. And it's not, in my opinion, a casualty that Sabalenka managed to beat her on clay once in the only, because for me clay maybe would be the surface in which because maybe how powerful Sabalenka hit, I'm talking just in that particular matchup, can still be a bit difficult for Anisimova to get into that rally rhythm and do that manage with the counter punch game also. That's how I'm viewing the matchup. But of course, Anisimova also won a French Open match against Sabalenka. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely Arenarme is the favorite, but there is a bit of a twist here with that head-to-head and sort of how we think it will impact the matchup. And it just makes it all the more exciting. But Nurlan wanted to talk about Bia Haddad Maia, who he says is very overrated and should not be nowhere near the top 30. Top 30 is harsh, Nurlan. I do think that she is kind of at her peak. And definitely there is a bit of an issue for her going forwards, in that how does she improve from here? How does she beat the very top players? Some of her slam results have been pretty disappointing, perhaps including today. But I mean, she obviously gets a lot of wins, also based, other than the game, also based on the fact that she's such a gritty competitor, which even today she was showing. She didn't let Timofeeva, just run away with the match in the second set. She just kept her honest, kept fighting off all the match points until she finally couldn't. Of course, she wins a lot of marathon matches. So I think top 30 is kind of harsh, but where she is right now is probably one of her, top moments in her career, one of the top possible spots that she could really occupy, provided, there's no, I don't know, injuries or a weaker top 10 in general. But anyway, Bia Haddad Maia lost to Maria Timofeeva in the third round, and then Timofeeva is going to face Kostyuk. So that's a pretty exciting one, actually. That's not one of the matches that the Australian Open will be promoting the most, or not one of the matches that get the casual fans going. But it's actually projects as a fairly interesting one between two young players, of course, with a very different career path. Kostyuk, from the age of 15 when she made the Australian Open third round, has been touted as a prospect, and Timofeeva pretty much just blowing up in the summer last year. But it actually might be one of my favorite fourth round matchups from this set.
Yeah, I mean, about Haddad Maia, I don't really think that she's overrated. I mean, for me, overrated means a bit like if people judges her, above where she really is. I don't think that anyone is thinking about her. as a top player, and people respect her as a good fighter, as a player who has had some good results last year. I point out that also her ranking is where is 12, I think, because she has two tournaments in which she gained 900 points last year, the Elite Trophy and the French Open semifinal. So that for sure helped her ranking a lot. Yeah, I would say that for me, I kind of agree with you with how I rate her. I think that around the 20th position, for example, I don't think that would be kind of okay for her value as a player, because there are also some things that make her quite an uncomfortable player to face. The fighting spirit, but also the leftiness, that form. She's also able to defend the court really well, despite her being very tall, as especially as a female player. So I would think that, yeah, she's not maybe one of the players that entertains the most the crowd or the average spectator, but in my opinion, maybe 12, 11, she's got a couple 2 or 4 weeks, I don't remember, even into the top 10, and I think it's a reward for her, even if she's not maybe going to be back there. Probably I kind of agree with that. And that part of the draw, yes, quite interested, because yeah, Timofeeva is it's another kind of young player which doesn't really steal the sight, probably for at least, as I've been told a bit to some people, most of them are quite surprised to see her going this far in this slam. Maybe for Kostyuk, for example, it's not the same, but of course Kostyuk, it's been quite a consistent present for the last years, in more or less into the top 50 over there, and right now she's going even higher. Well, I would still see her as a bit favorite in this match in Kostyuk, but I would give Timofeeva quite good chances, because regardless of her performances against Wozniacki and Haddad Maia, she beat two players with you have to show up really well if you want to beat them, even if they are not playing maybe at 100%, and that's really encouraging, from her perspective, also of a young player who's trying to to gain positions and to be higher and higher rated in the tennis world.
Yeah, especially as it felt like since that last, what was the title, Budapest or whatever it was. It kind
I
of
think
felt like
it
she
was
was
Budapest.
like, yeah, kind of felt like she sort of fell asleep after that one, and didn't really make any headlines since. So of course this is a wonderful run to get her going. Sean, we're gonna get to Sinner in a second. Once we finish the women's, I promise you that we'll start from that. One more section of the draw we haven't discussed yet is Coco Gauff just absolutely crashing Alicia Parks. Obviously, it's Alicia Parks, so mostly it was just Parks hitting 100,000 unforced errors. And now she's going to play Magdalena Frey, who managed to get over that crappy third round matchup between her and Zakharova, which was just like, yeah, that was a surprising third round, let's be honest. But now, any chance that Frey is going to stop Gauff?
For me, it's more difficult, because first of all, I rate Gauff, for example, even comparing to the win she had against Garcia, I rate Gauff higher than Garcia. And also, I think that for the game style, Garcia is a very big hitter, a player who tries to attack so much. And, Freck could have been and has been quite comfortable also with that, because also liking to counter punch a bit helped in some, sometimes by Garcia's mistakes, even if Garcia hasn't really played hasn't played her best, but she did well at times, a bit inconsistent. Gauff is not a player who, in some parts of the match, she can even let you play, let you, try to do also to play in attack. And I don't know if Freck can be able to use this chance in the parts of the matches where Gauff will be a little bit more passive. And then, of course, Gauff can do both things, that's for sure. I'm not doubting there, but she's more consistent of a player, and that would make more difficult, in my opinion, for Freck to use this to use the chances. Garcia is always a player who let you have more chances if she's not 100%.
Yeah, I mean, Frank did very well to react to Garcia's mistakes and to react to Garcia's big hitting, sure. Also to move her whenever the opportunity came up, definitely. But against Gauff, you need to have a very different skill set, and I don't really see this matchup as being any close. I don't understand how she would beat Coco. I think Magda has played her best career matches against like Daniel Collins, for example. Yeah, these sort of opponents where she's just mostly reacting and sometimes comes up with like some peaking serving, for example. Even though of course she's not exactly a player who usually finds it as an asset, but yeah, someone who is probably more so making her react rather than being on the front foot. Ghost even says that Gauff is very close to being a pusher. She's pusher adjacent. I mean, she's definitely like defense oriented, defense first. So I don't think it's that.
Yeah, but I don't judge it in a bad way, because
that's not a bad. That's not negative. Yeah, like that she is defense oriented. But
in the
sometimes people forget about that. Like I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's also one more question maybe before we head to the men's. If anyone is stopping that Gauff Sabalenka match, who is your pick in this half? Who is gonna stop us from having that semifinal?
Honestly, I think that if I don't know, right now I'm pretty sure that Gauff will make it, and maybe for the upset I would rate Anisimova higher than Andreeva, because I still think that maybe she has to wait a little bit to really get to the point, she beats, a girl like Sabalenka. A bit I'm not thinking about too much, but maybe not at this Australian Open. I don't know why Anisimova maybe can be, especially if Sabalenka, so far she played very different kind of opponents. I don't know. I feel that can be very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I would probably say the same, which is why I'm kind of disappointed that you said it, because I thought I was gonna have like a bold prediction here or like bold pick, but yeah, I would say
right now
I'm
judging how Gauff has done so far. Maybe costume can make her have some troubles, but I'm seeing Gauff really, really, really well set right now. So I'm really struggling to see anyone upsetting her, and if not, beating her. If you are Sabalenka, Swiatek, that's, of course, I can see that, but I think that she would able to capitalize this draw, honestly.
It fell apart a little bit. I think Timofeyev or Kostyuk might have a bit of a shot, but Frank no. And yeah, if someone is stopping them, it's Anisimova, honestly. Andreeva may be a better player right now, but actually, is she? I mean, that's probably debatable if Anisimova is very much in her peak. And also, yeah, the matchup, I do think that Sabalenka, when she last played Andreeva, just overwhelmed her pretty badly, and maybe it would be a little better this time, but probably not to that extent yet. Anyway, let's get back to that question that Sean had. Has Sinner been dominating because of weak opponents, or is he just that good? So maybe I'll start first. Both. I think his opposition has been really poor. definitely, compared to most of the other players. Well, really poor. The first round, Botic van de Zandschulp, I think we were saying at the very beginning of the event that this is probably his toughest match until the fourth round. Jesper de Jong, great form, but clearly he is not at that caliber yet. Sebastian Baez on hard courts, we all know how it usually happens. And also the recent matches between them, no, we were kind of expecting that. So I think the opposition has been pretty poor, but just comparing him to the rest of the tournament, I think he's absolutely delivering on the form from 2023.
Yeah.
The big question is like whether he beats Djokovic or Alcaraz, but if he loses to anyone else, he's going to be massively disappointed about this, and we will also have a right to be massively disappointed about him losing here, because he's playing Kachanov next. Great players. I mean, Kachanov, then Rublev or the Minor, right? But if Sinner really is to be like a proper contender for this title, he needs to win these matches. And so far, he hasn't shown us any sign that would suggest he's not going to. So yeah, I basically, that's how I treat it. Like, he's going to be massively disappointed if he doesn't make the semis, or if Djokovic loses earlier, if he doesn't make the final.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Of course, the opposition hasn't been the toughest, but at the same time, Sebastian Baez, for example, was a third round opponent last year at the US Open for Medvedev, and the match there has been a little bit tougher than how
but that was like 12
been.
wins in a row Baez, right? That was like
yeah. But
also, it wasn't too tough either.
No, but had one set that just. But still, for sure he did very, very well. I mean, for me it's the same speech as Sabalenka. We can't say really nothing more. He's been really, really good, because if not, you are not beating these guys like 6-love, 6-1, 6-3. So of course you have to deliver a good performance to do that. And then, of course, the opposition, already, for example, the next match against Kachanov, I'm still expecting him to win if he brings that level. But for sure, it's going to be a good test, because, Kachanov, first of all, is very more solid. But honestly, as for Sinner, I kind of think that Sinner should not struggle that much, maybe in my view, against this kind of, let's say, maybe Kachanov a little bit more than Rublev, if it happens. I don't know. I am expecting the Minor to be kind of favorite against Rublev in a round 4. Even if Rublev hasn't lost so far, and the last 2 matches have been, quite routine, let's say, like that. Nothing particularly dangerous for him scoreline wise. Still, the Minor maybe has something more in this period, so I think that this is his chance to try to get further in a Grand Slam, try to reach the quarterfinal. After that, as about Sinner, I don't have anything left to say. Just that he's been playing well and beating his opponents quite comfortably, as he should have done, considering the opposition. So
yeah, and if he does indeed, the Minor, if he does beat Rublev, then it only makes things easier for Sinner. So, but yeah, I do think that this is likely still going to be a semifinal for him, and then we'll sort of see what he's made of. But so far, there's only like really nothing negative you can say about his performance, and he's been just destroying the opponents, not because they were absurdly weak, just because he was hitting like that, and then he was hitting like he was in the tail end of 2023 again. I don't see the odds yet on Demin or Rublev. I wonder what they will be indeed. I would say maybe Rublev's slight favorite for the market, but I would personally also think that it's like maybe slight ADM, but it's pretty tight, obviously. Ghosty won't shut up about it, so let's talk about the most criminal performance of today, I suppose. Was that the most criminal performance of today? Well, maybe Marozsan as well in the last 2 sets, but probably this one. Sebastian Korda against Andrei Rublev. I don't know what your expectations were. Mine weren't all that high, but besides the second set, I mean, it does feel like Sebi has declined massively since the Australian Open in 2023, which is kind of surprising. Given in the Asian swing, he was already sort of back on track, back on his feet. But probably since the very first match this year, we sort of had the idea that something is off, that this isn't the Sebastian Korda of January 2023.
Yeah. He was definitely suffering. He is a player who more or less, like Rublev, can make you play at a very high rhythm from the baseline. But today he was suffering that from the opponent, the pressing that Rublev usually brings you to feel. He was definitely suffering that. It's definitely, I was not expecting an upset alert was not on my bingo card, honestly, considering lately how things have gone. But of course, there have been a close set. The second one, 8-6 in the tiebreak, but still, I don't know. The Asian swing gave me, that kind of I thought that, okay, maybe if he's still, has fully recovered, he had an injury, okay, maybe he will be back 2024, being back in Australia, he will still playing good. And so far it hasn't really happened at that level. I still think that for sure he's having a bit of ups and downs so far, considering the last season of his careers. Sometimes, some weeks, he seems like that guy who can push even more, who can even maybe at times, for the level he was showing last years in Australia, you may think, okay, he can bring himself to the top 10. Other parts of the year, he's playing at lower than the expectation, than how he can perform, and seems like the trend is still going on. Let's see if the American swing on the hard courts can help him to bring himself more confidence and improve his level again, and be back to be that kind of dangerous player that almost nobody wants to face early.
This is pretty interesting, but Ghosty said that Demir is playing the best. He hasn't dropped a set. He dropped a set to Milos Raonic in round 1, and I just that made me start thinking, who actually hasn't dropped a set yet in the men's event? And I found 2 of them. One of them is very obvious, obviously. It's Jannik Sinner. Do you know who the other is?
Okay. Yes, Nuno Borges.
Exactly, it's pretty wild. Yeah, Nuno Borges is the other player who hasn't dropped a set yet. Of course, he is in the third round, not the 4th round yet. He's gonna play Grigor Dimitrov, so I would say that's unlikely to hold up, but that's pretty sick. That Jannik Sinner and Nuno Borges are the only 2 players who haven't lost a set so far. Unless I missed someone, but I was trying to I wasn't looking at the draw, just at the names of the players, so I was relying on memory mostly. But I think everyone else has dropped at least a set. That's
but because yesterday all that side of the draw dropped a set.
Other than Nuno, yeah.
Oh yes, basically you're right. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. When you think about it this way, it must be true, because only Nuno yesterday won in straights. Yes, and in this half, we clearly see that it was just Sinner, and actually it was, I think, just Sinner as well before today, right? Everyone else was already dropping sets anyway. Just a brief shout out as well. I forgot about that, but to Thomas Mahach, who was the better player against Khachanov to an irritating extent, but he converted 2 breakpoints. Khachanov did as well. However, Khachanov had 3 of them, and Mahach had 19. And also, of course, many chances to claim the second set, many chances to get going in the 4th. But eventually, I mean, he lost the second from many like leads, like 4-1, 4-3, a couple of breakpoints, 6-5, 2 set points, a couple of breakpoints. But of course, that's not what tennis is about. And Karen Khachanov makes another slam second week, or he'll play Sinner. We touched on Rublev and Deminor. I think, unless we have something else to say about Deminor's performance against Koboli, but yeah, he's just been super routine so far, which does give you a lot of just hope in terms of the Rublev matchup, and that it will be a match where both players will be firing. So maybe let's talk about the other two sections. I mean, the first quarter, literally. Yeah. I think there was that section when the seeds were Fritz, Tsitsipas, Cerundolo, and Musetti, and we were all thinking that this is pretty vulnerable. Like, these guys can actually lose between the fourth round potentially. But now we actually get a Fritz Tsitsipas fourth round. And by the way, this goes for like the whole quarter, where there's only one player who wasn't seeded in the top 16, and that's Adrian Manarino. But he beat the player who was seeded in the top 16, so it was really close to just 8 highest ranked players making the fourth round. But yeah, Fritz Tsitsipas, anything on that today? Tsitsipas crushing Luka Van Asch, no real harm there. I think Van Asch briefly led in the third set, but still lost it 4-6. And also Fritz's win over Marozsan, which was from a set down, but then got really comfortable near the end.
Yeah, for sure. Also because not only, we were thinking about that part of the draw as vulnerable, and not only after the draw, but even after the first round performances for both players. Both Tsitsipas and Fritz didn't really look that good. And so, yeah, they have definitely improved. And Tsitsipas, especially he is showing right now that, the Australian court conditions environment makes him feel very good, because considering, I don't think that he can be too disappointing on himself, even if he leaves the tournament in round 4, considering the what happened before the tournament. Then of course today's win, even if maybe Van Asch doesn't really have these weapons to really beat a guy like Tsitsipas right now, but still come in a very, very good way, playing good tennis. Did very well. So yeah, this of course brings me to a throwback, because we had another round 4 between the two, Tsitsipas and Fritz, in 2022, and it was actually an amazing chance for Fritz, who was a setup. He had a really he really had the chance to win, and so yeah, let's see. This performance is right now still makes me think that probably Tsitsipas will kind of be the favorite in that match, because when you can play a lot with the serve and forehand, the tactic scheme, Tsitsipas should be kind of fine if he's well. But if suddenly Fritz brings, as more or less today he did, brings a high level of solidity also from the baseline, and he's quite okay with the backhand, then of course Tsitsipas can suddenly be in trouble. But for sure, what we think about these two players right now changed a lot comparing to the start of the tournament, and especially after also seeing the first round matches. Maybe
sorta. I didn't think that Fritz would make the fourth round. But like, does it change anything in regards to their long-term tournament prospects? Like,
no.
Beating Djokovic reporters, nada, nothing, null. So I don't know what Gorst you're referring to. Like, does Fritz have a chance or not? I can't figure him out. If you're thinking of that Tsitsipas match, of course he has a shot. I mean, this has been a very tough, a very even matchup over the years. They've played a phenomenal battle as well at the Australian Open a couple of years back, which ended in 5 sets. And I think their current head-to-head is like 3-1 Tsitsipas, but Fritz, of course, winning the recent Monte Carlo match last year, which was a bit of a surprise on clay. And yeah, I mean, does he have a shot against Djokovic? Well, probably not. When it comes to Fritz Marozsan, yeah, I was a little disappointed with Fabi's performance, probably just because, well, he wins the first set, everything is going all right. He has like a pretty stupid miss in the second set that kind of rattles him. And I think Taylor still played it right. Like he was actually determined not to be on the back foot, determined not to allow Marozsan to maybe start exposing the athleticism, frailties that Taylor has, and like just constantly rush him. He didn't allow him that, just blasted the ball on the defense. Like anytime Fritz was in a defensive position, he would still hit hard and deep handle, especially when there's a big serve from Fritz. But that's why I said earlier that this is one of the more criminal performances as well. It's only because of the third and fourth set where like Marozsan was really out of it mentally as well, just kind of going through the motions and just driving the match towards the finish without fighting for it really. And yeah, Tsitsipas probably the one who is playing much better than we were expecting before the event. Some part of that back injury still is there. I mean, he's like experimenting and changing from platform to pinpoint stance on serve mid-match, which is pretty interesting, but it's not impacting his game in like an obvious way. So this is more or less a match that will decide who will play against Djokovic. It's probably like it. Djokovic and Manarino coming over to these two fellows. Djokovic, of course, beating Echeverry today. We had the watch along for this one, and basically it was like the best performance that Djokovic has had so far. No sign of the physical issues. Echeverry couldn't really make it a slogfest. You mentioned earlier that was like a competitive match compared to most of the high seeds. Yes, compared to the high seeds, it was, but it still never really felt like it was any danger for Djokovic because he wins the first two sets so cleanly. Because in the third, it's always Echeverry playing catch up, not only because he was serving second, but also because, just breaking Djokovic was impossible for him today. He had a couple of deuces, I think, but overall, he was barely winning points on return in general. And I don't think that Edge was ready on hard courts yet to tackle an opponent like this, even if he has improved considerably. Like the serve was actually really good. He was serving well. It's just that even when the serve was landing, he couldn't really produce much after that. And I think also Djokovic like took away his inside out forehand really well from him, because anytime he would try to have this sort of the favorite Echeverry point, which basically has him standing on the backhand side and either sending the forehand inside in or inside out. But anytime he would do that, Djokovic either plays so deep to his backhand corner that he needs to refer to his backhand, or maybe just plays backhand down the line, which was just spot on today. So definitely the best performance we've seen so far. And I guess, cold doesn't last 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, when I was watching Djokovic kind of struggling a little bit, despite myself having a lot, I have a lot of esteem in Echeverry, of course, but I was kind of thinking, maybe Echeverry is kind of the right opponent for Djokovic to find rhythm, to start him finding his shots better, because Echeverry is that kind of solid player, but it's not like that he has that amazing defense that can push.
But what was different about Prismic then? What was different about Prismic?
Well, about Prismic, first of all, I think that as
why wasn't Prismic the perfect opponent as well?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the first match can be, in Djokovic's situation, we know that he was maybe also struggling a little bit with the cold he had. And then maybe I think that Prismic can still, play the defensive game better than Echeverry. Maybe solidity. Solidity, maybe yes. It's more or less quite, let's say the same. But when it's purely the defensive game where Djokovic is trying to close the points, it's a bit easier for him to close the point against Echeverry than against Prismic, And then I think that Djokovic then can start, struggling. Also, of course, the forehands level today was much higher than how it was against Prismic, and all this already makes all the difference in the world. I mean, but. Yeah, I don't know. I had the feeling that Echeverry is not kind of the right match to see Djokovic really close to the defeat. I mean, even against Popyrin, tough matchup for every player like Popyrin, but still Popyrin can bring into his game that kind of different factors that if Popyrin suddenly gets on fire, and then it can become, as we were predicting that Djokovic could have lost a set. Today was a bit different, and I was kind of expecting that.
I mean, if Djokovic was again like hampered by the cold visibly, I think Fetch would have had a very good shot. Like it was just a very different level of focus, very different level of aggression from Djokovic. Probably the best chance of Echeverry was for Djokovic to have a cold, and then you play him for like 4.5 hours. But
yeah,
of course,
I'm
he wasn't
also
really
kind
able
of
to
expecting that. With the days that are passing, the cold goes away. So
seems like it is. Seems like it is going away. And perhaps the last match we haven't touched on, Adrian Manarino playing Ben Shelton. Apparently, there was Mario danced in the streets because he hates Shelton. That's of course the meme that Ghosty has been using. I don't even remember where it originated, but it's kind of funny to me at this point. But anyway, Adrian Manarino wins his third consecutive 5-setter. He's now 14-4 in 5-setters overall, losing to Pablo Cuevas, Łukasz Kubot, Andy Murray, and Roger Federer. But to Federer, he kind of didn't lose. He slipped and had to retire after the first. Well, he slipped in the fourth set and then had to retire after the first point of the fifth set. So it's more or less like 14-3 actually. And when it comes to Manarino, he's already spent almost 12 hours on the court. So he kind of killed his chances against Djokovic, right? But at the same time, he's probably not even going to know that he faces Djokovic until Sunday. So it's fine. He didn't have it in his mind. We know he didn't have it at the back of his mind that if I beat Shelton today. But just to without just on a serious note, let's say, it was funny to see Manarino just outmaneuver another much more talented in the long run opponent, another opponent who probably will have much better results. But one guy knows how to play this sport, and the other is still learning the ropes.
Yeah, that's for sure. And with Manarino's story, lately, it's also very interesting to follow, because we are kind of asking ourselves, maybe, how much he has still left, considering how he's still he's now up to number 17 in the live ranking. He wasn't even got to the top 20 before just let's say the end of the last season. No, actually this season, the United Cup, and reaching the Australian Open round 4. Great, two players who can really bring on a very, very entertaining tennis, both Shelton and Manarino. Different from each other, but still kind of with that, let's say, same mindset on the court. Talking about how they want to, to play the game. Then of course they have different characteristics, both physically, technically, and so Shelton maybe is a bit more serve and volley, but still both can bring that different element to their matches, to tactically to their game. And maybe if we want to make things like that, it's kind of fair that Manarino won, but just because Shelton, is going to have many opportunities in the near future. So of course it would be great for Manarino to play against Djokovic on the Rod Laver Arena for the next match. A very entertaining one. Fifth set also a bit dramatic. Shelton tried to save break points until Manarino finally broke. What does it mean for Shelton? For me, nothing particularly bad. Losing 6-4 in the fifth to this Manarino, maybe it can happen. It won't really drop that much on in the ranking, also because he had some very good results last year, in the last period of last year. I think that it's nothing really bad for Ben, who will have now also the Sunshine Double to try to gain point and try to attack also the higher positions of the ranking. For sure, he has still he's still in this kind of learning process, and we've also seen that. But good for Manarino, who is winning some titles, getting high in the ranking now, also having also a good run at a Grand Slam, which is kind of completing his, the great period of his career.
Yeah, and I guess with that we might be getting closer to the finish line. Maybe let's do it like this, Mario. Tell me your favorite match of tomorrow on the women's side and on the men's side, just as a little preview of what's to come.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, maybe I will say Kazoo Grigspur.
Okay.
I can feel kind of interested in that. Both following, because I've been following very well both in this tournament, and so I'm interested in, watching how they will clash together in the next round. Even if there are a lot of interesting matches actually tomorrow, I think. Yeah, and then as I saw yesterday. I would be interested in watch the clash between. No, I'm changing. I will say Blinkova Paulini also for some national pride. I want to see if Blinkova keeps it up after the great match yesterday, and it's also great chance for Paulini to get to a major second week in this good period of her career.
Yeah, I would say Ostapenko Azarenka for me is the clear highlight of tomorrow on the women's side for sure. Great match in Brisbane, so I'm expecting fireworks again. I'm expecting big returning from both again. Would like to see Elena progress and perhaps have her face Świątek again in the quarters. That's such a hilarious matchup now that she's 4-0 against her, and just to see whether Iga has a shot of beating her this time on probably not the favorite courts of hers and not the favorite conditions in which she wants to face Ostapenko. But of course, that would require just two more wins from both players. Ostapenko, Azarenka, certainly not a given, and I'm excited for that one. On the men's, I think there are a lot of different answers. Literally every single one of these matches, I think someone would be able to justify, maybe outside of Dimitrov Borges, unless you're Portuguese or unless you're a Grigor Dimitrov fan. But I would probably go with Shang Alcaraz. Like, regardless of whether it's close or not, it certainly will be flashy. Like there's gonna be a lot of cool shots in that one, and that's why that's why this is the one that I'm going for. Anything else to be said here before we leave the show, before we exit the last ball drop for day 8?
I think that it's fine. Yesterday we needed kind of 2 hours. Today it's not been as firework as yesterday, but still nice things we have watched. And I'm interested in tomorrow because I feel like that side of the men's draw is particularly interesting in itself, regardless of if the matches goes like yesterday or not. I feel like this is really a stacked part of the draw. For example, how Auger-Aliassime will behave against a top player like Medvedev, since we know he's trying to regain his level, will be interesting. A lot of things will be worth watching, that's for sure.
Yeah, the top half of the men's draw kind of feels like wake me up when Sinner and Djokovic face in the semis now, whereas on the bottom there's definitely a lot more novelty and a lot more that can happen to Alcaraz or Medvedev along the way. Anyway, thank you guys for today, everyone in the chat. Brenda, Sean, Ghosty, Nurlan was there earlier, of course. How could I forget Nurlan, Michael as well? I think that's all. Sorry if I missed someone. And thank you guys. We'll see you on some other streams and etc. I know there's going to be again this introductory thing at the beginning of the day, and also at the last ball drop show, of course, is going to be there tomorrow too. So probably some watch along as well. So we'll see you guys. We'll catch you guys later. Basically, see ya.